say.
Can you hear me? I had Harry as a teacher during the early 80s, and he's an amazing teacher. But he was an amazing artist too, and I've never seen two things come together like that with anybody. You can combine both things very well. But I have a lot of fond memories. One of them is with Lynn and Harry at Casa Vicky, and just hanging out. And just he was like the most human, the most kind, the most genuine person I knew. I thought he was fantastic. But he really helped me a lot. And I remember during graduate school when I was in a bad place, and he came by my studio, and he just left me a note, and it was just so encouraging and so Harry kind of. He made me feel part of the program in a big way. I was thinking it would be great if somewhere in San Jose we had a sculpture garden just for Harry, you know? Because more than any other artist, I feel he deserves that. I mean, he leaves a legacy. He leaves incredible amount of artists influenced by his vision and his way of doing things. For me, just the way he taught was something that was inspirational and will always be inspirational. So I love knowing him. Thank you.
So I'm Billy Moore.
Billy!
What's up, Frankie? Harry was brother to my mom, Marilyn. And I didn't, well, Marilyn came into my life a little later. I didn't know that Harry would, you know, well, I didn't know that Uncle Bud was Harry. For those of you that, Harry was Uncle Bud to me, so. And truly, he was the most soft, wonderful man and a gentle person. And like Harry, I was in love with a younger woman. And at that time of my life, I was a musician and had no direction, didn't know what I was doing, and I couldn't convince her that I was the guy for her. And I went to Uncle Bud, and I said, I don't know what to do to turn the page with this woman. And he said, why don't you grab a bunch of magazines and start cutting out letters and words and write a letter to her of just letters and words and tell her that your heart is ransomed on a mysterious island somewhere and she needs to come and get you. And it's a true story. And 25 years later, you know, 3 kids and a life of, you know, I owe that to Uncle Bud. He was a human being like no other human being. And it was like touching life itself and Mother Earth to be with Uncle Bud. He was truly a man like no other man. And so I owe, in so many ways, this second half of my life to him. And right, Murray? Just an exceptional person, and like Larry said, where are you, Larry? Yeah, it was an honor to be in his presence, and it really was. We're all so lucky, so that's my story.
My name is Jackie. Mike and I are doing this together because we're both simply terrified. So my name is Jackie, also Jacqueline. You can see I've been ambivalent about my name. And I was a colleague of Harry's and also a friend since 1965. Late in our career teaching, Harry often left me small notes in my office. They were humorous and funny, and they often pointed out, they were often addressed to me from the president of the university, commenting rather doubtfully on the works of art that were hanging in my office. And also on my collection of poems, which I used in expressive drawing. But the most important note he left me was titled, Canta no lores, sing, don't cry. Sing, don't cry. And I was talking to him, and I had a lot to say, and it was a lamentation, and he listened, and I could feel him retreat slowly. Then he printed this little note and handed it to me. So I feel today very ambivalent about that note. There's a joyous part of me that wants to sing, and there's the part of me that is truly sad, because each of us has a unique fingerprint or thumbprint, but we're also unique psychologically, and there will never be anyone in my life quite like Harry Powers. So I'm particularly indebted to him for making a place for me in the art department as a young woman when there were mostly guys there. This wonderful person I'm standing next to. Now, Harry and I shared music, mostly Berlioz. I know he said Berlioz, but I persisted in saying Berlioz. And one of our profound shared experiences was listening, sitting in the center, third row from the back, San Francisco Symphony, to the Berlioz Requiem, and listening to the sound of the whispering cymbals, with kind of an angelic, soft touch. And I wanted to close with a poem. I know that poetry wasn't important for Harry, but it was important for me. And I've modified this significantly. It's an E.E. Cummings poem. And Cummings wrote this after his mother died, and he said, if, notice the word if there are any heavens, Harry Powers will have one, all to himself. And then the poem goes on and it says it will not be a fragile heaven of lilies of the valley. It will be a heaven of blood-red roses. And for me that stands for his passion, Harry's passion, his generosity, his rich, complex personality. And then the poem ends, modified, with these words, and when Harry Powers enters this garden, the whole garden will bow. So I wanted to bring a red rose and to hand it to Lynn, because in the last years of his life, she really gently, thoughtfully, compassionately reorganized her life, creating a rich environment for Harry, but one that was appropriate to his aging. So Lynn, this is for you.
Excuse me, my name is Mike Cooper. I like to follow Jackie because I'm sort of the other end of the spectrum. She's eloquent, I'm rough. I met Harry, I think about 1964 at San Jose State as a young art student who was in commercial art and illustration. I did not know what art was at all. I came from Lodi. Lodi did not spell art. So I'm majoring in commercial art, but I need a job. And I was able to get the student assistant job, and I think it was room 201, the second floor of the art department, to sort of oversee the shop where there were bandsaws, table saws, sanders, and tools. Hand them out, help students, and what have you. Well, my connection with Harry was designated as my boss. And Harry didn't know shit about tools. He learned, but it was my first experience with Harry, you know, as a faculty person, professor. I didn't know that you came maybe a year later, but I'm not quite sure about those details. I was in awe of everything faculty, because those people were bright and we were kids. And
some of the faculty were kids too.
yes, I realized that afterwards that she wasn't so much younger or older. But that was my connection to begin with. I got to know Harry then over years, bit by bit, like most of us do in our lives. We leave school, we reconnect. I always kept a connection with Harry because he was so important. If you were an art major, you realized how competitive it was, how egos were all over the place with both young artists and, of course, faculty. Harry didn't seem to have an ego. In fact, I think Harry was the kindest, most father-like figure you could ever imagine. Now again, I'm still a student. I never ever felt like I could talk to people like Harry or Jackie or Sam Richardson or Sam Smith as an equal. I felt like, okay, we want to grasp everything we can. These guys are smart. So we drank together. It's a great way to learn more about the soft side, the other side, the physical, emotional side that's sensitive. And Harry was just the best, the absolute best. I have a few things in my pocket I could say more about him, you know, reading certain, he was kind and this and that, but you all know that. And I just want to say it's wonderful to follow Jackie in my humble way, and I absolutely loved Harry.